back to Comic Beyond Dark Tales. So, in this episode, we're going to be covering Werewolf by Night Giant Size. And what if a giant size issue is, it was like an annual back in the day. It's the same type of giant size that Giant Size X-Men was when it came out and it introduced Wolverine and all these other new X-Men characters. So, they did giant size titles for a lot of their characters. But this one is for Werewolf by Night, and it includes Morbius, the living vampire. So in our story, it starts off where Jack, the Werewolf by Night, he's starting to transform in this alleyway, and he attacks some guys that are, hanging out outside of a bar. And then just across town, we catch up with Morbius, and he's actually following this girl named Martine, which was actually his girlfriend when he was still a scientist before he got turned into the living vampire. And so he's trying to track her down because he thinks she can lead him to a cure. Due to some circumstances that took place in his series prior to this book. So he reveals himself to her, and she realizes who he is. And so she's like, "We got to get somewhere safe, and we can talk." And so they're leaving together, and of course, they come across Jack Russell, the werewolf by night. And so Morbius and Werewolf, they end up getting in a fight. And Morbius's blood rage starts to come out to the point where he bites the werewolf. And as he's biting him, Jack's starting to turn back into his human form. And then Morbius is taken by this because he's like, my God, he's a man. He's like, he's innocent. What have I done? And Martine's like, it's okay. We just gotta go. We can get him help or whatever. So they leave, and Morbius and Martine get to a hotel. And she's like, it's already time's passed, and it's almost the next night. And she tells Morbius, I have a key to like a safety deposit box, and in this box there should be papers to a cure. And so Morbius is like, okay, well, as soon as the sun goes down, we should be safe to go retrieve this cure. And so we jump over to where Jack's in a hospital room, and the nurse is trying to ask him what all happened to him, stuff like that, that he'll be okay. And she goes to close his window, and she can see that the moon's getting full. So she comments, oh, it's a nice moon out tonight. Well, as she's got her back turned, he's transformed into the werewolf. And he attacks her. She goes running out of the room. And then he's running through the hospital as the werewolf. So I can imagine it would be kind of funny. But he crashes out of the hospital, and he makes his way out. And then we catch up with Morbius and Martine. They're at this post office, and he unlocks a safety deposit box, which holds, from what he can understand, the formula to make a cure. But he wants to get back and try to study it and research it to make sure it's going to work. But he believes it is. He wasn't able to develop it, but he believes the person that gave them this formula was scientifically able to find him a cure. And so while they're making their way back from the post office, they're talking, but then they end up, again, coming across Jack. And so Morbius is getting in a fight with a werewolf again. And so they end up fighting in like the museum area of like where the dinosaurs, like the tar pit area is. And so they're at this museum with these mock-up like tar pits and dinosaur bones, stuff like that. And so they start getting in their scuffle and they start fighting. Well, Morbius ends up knocking the werewolf into the pit. Well, Morbius is like enraged because when he got attacked, the formula paper got messed up. It got shredded. And so he's about to let Jack die. And because he's pissed off that now his cure, his one chance, has been taken from him. And so he's about to just let werewolf get stuck in this tar pit and, like, drown. And so Martine comes and she's like, Jack, or Morbius, you can't do this because what you're doing right now is what you were trying to stop yourself from doing. and by murdering him, you're just doing it out of revenge. And she tries to tell Morbius, this guy, we saw him transform back into a man, so he's just as innocent as you are. He's just cursed. And so Morbius looks at her and he just turns and walks away. And then the last panel you see Mortine getting some rope or something to try to help Jack get out of the pit. And Morbius, he just walks off into the darkness. And then in the very, very last panel, you can see shreds of the formula paper on the ground. And then the wording box over it says, "One monster was saved, the other one still lost." And I really like that. I thought that was a good way to, like, kind of end this story. So, not much to it. It was a very simple story. I think it was mainly written or developed just so these two could be shown fighting, a vampire and a werewolf fighting. But I'm a Morbius fan. I'm a Werewolf by Night fan. I like them both. So I did enjoy this, and that little bit of wording at the end of the very last panel, I really like that. And I thought this was good. So I was able to get the physical copy, the back issue of this giant size. But it's also in my Morbius Epic collection, was how I read it. So if you want to check it out, or check out a lot more Morbius stories that are very, very good, especially the ones from Tales of the Vampire magazine, I recommend there's 2 volumes, the Epic collection of Morbius. A very good volume, especially if you want to get into the Morbius comics. I mean, I know there's more current stuff, but to me, a lot of the older books have a lot of heart to them, and they're just good, like, vampire horror adventure books, which honestly half the time I never have a happy ending. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. And if you want to check it out, those are places you can find it. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.